Well, well, well. Now, if you know anything about me, you need to know, honey, that I am a petty Betty. Yes, I am. But China, baby, China, they got that petty down on lock, honey. Let me tell you what they have come out to say, baby. I'm serious. They are being petty today. China said, hey, yo, America, y'all want to come play? We're going to give you 280 free visa hours to come on over and spend, all of your money, baby. Get out from underneath those golden showers. We make umbrellas. We invented them. Come on in, friend. Yes, you see, China has come to play, honey, and they know how to play because, well, they have been around since way fuck back in the day, over 5,000 years, they say. And, well, Daddy thought he was going to throw shade China's way, that xenophobia and all. But, baby, China didn't even answer his fucking call. That's right, he made a phone call to China the other night, and China said, no thank you, we're okay over here, we don't want to play with you, boo. Standing 10 toes down, holding that motherfucking ground. Baby, can I book a plane flight expeditiously? Oh my God, in the middle of the night, I don't even care. I need to book a flight, honey, over to China, because I need to go play. Now, I don't have much money to spend over there today, but either way, goods cost almost 50% less than they do over here with our economic mess. I'm loving the petty, baby. Oh my God, I'm loving the petty. A max exodus to China, baby. You know the rest. Fucking petty at its best.
Okay, so what have we learned? MAGA, what have we learned from this experience? We told you China was not going to fold on these tariffs. We told you the president does not have any cards to play in this supposed trade war. There was not going to be a restructuring of the global trade market. This is not a negotiating tactic. And the manufacturing, we can do away with that excuse. China had all the cards, all the leverage this entire time. Like many of us have said all week, the business ties that this country has with China run too deep. We cannot get into a pissing contest with that country. Everything is made in China. Absolutely everything. Do you see these videos that they're posting now? Has anybody else seen these videos coming up on your For You page? These videos of Chinese merchants explaining how all luxury brands made in China. Yeah, all that stuff. Chanel, Louis Vuitton, all of it, China. And I mean, if you want to get into the merch conversation, all of Donald Trump's merch made in China. If you are currently wearing a MAGA hat, if you are waving a Trump flag, if you have any Donald Trump merch on you at this moment, go look at the tag. It's made in China. Yeah, the man screaming manufacturing, bring manufacturing back here. Things need to be American made is not even making you all wear American products. But you thought he was going to be able to out negotiate China. By the way, America owes China money. We owe them money. What? We didn't have any cards going into this negotiation. Plus, I'm sure enough of those billionaires and CEOs, all who heavily depend on the manufacturing that China does for them, they got in that man's ear and they said, you gotta pull back. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The art of the deal is just as fake as the man who sold that book. How are you guys going to explain this one? Well, let me guess. Joe Biden ruined the deal, right? It's gonna have something to do with Joe Biden. Whenever you guys are tired of getting embarrassed by the man you voted for, embarrassed by the man you worship, you can come on back to reality, all right? Because in reality, we all knew this was never going to work.
China sharply raised the stakes overnight in President Trump's trade war after he increased U.S. tariffs on Chinese products to 145% yesterday. Now, China's president is hitting back, increasing Beijing's 84% tariff on U.S. goods to 125% starting tomorrow. We are waiting to see the impact on Wall Street today, which took another beating yesterday.
At the same time, President Trump touted the historic market surge stemming from his pause on reciprocal tariffs.
We had a big day yesterday. There'll always be transition difficulty.
U.S. stocks were tumbling, wiping out a third of Wednesday's gains. But the president remained optimistic about new trade agreements on the horizon.
Everybody wants to come and make a deal.
China
The White
is fully
House
prepared to fight to the very end because the world is big enough that the United States is not the totality of the market in the world. So if the United States wants to go in that direction of completely shutting itself out of the China market, be my guest.
Yeah, and China will lose the US market, which, as I've said, is 15%.
We don't care.
Can't...
We don't care. China has been here for 5,000 years. Most of the time, there was no United States, and we survived. And if the United States wants to bully China, we will deal with the situation without the United States. And we expect to survive for another 5,000 years.
When you hear Donald Trump say China wants a deal, it just doesn't know how to go about it. They're proud people. J.D. Vance talks about Chinese peasants. What do you make of their conduct in this respect?
If J.D. Vance thinks that he's dealing with the peasants in China, and I'm proud to be a descendant of the peasants, most of us are descendants of the peasants anyway, that's our tradition. We are farmers before. But now we are one of the leading industrialized economies in the world. So I'm sorry, J.D. Vance doesn't know what he's talking about. And therefore, I don't think there will be China-US dialogue unless the United States changes its attitude towards China. Deal with China as it is, show respect to China, show respect to the Chinese people, and don't try to impose your prejudice and biased view about China or about the rest of the world.
They rob you blind and you thank them for it. That's a tragedy. That's a scam. That's why I'm saying this right now. Americans, you don't need a tariff. You need a revolution. For decades, your government and oligarchs ship your job to China. Not for diplomacy, not for peace, but to exploit cheap laborers. And in the process, they hollowed out your middle class, crushed your working class, and told you to be proud while they sold your future for profit. And yes, China made money, but we used it to build roads, lift millions out of poverty, fund healthcare, raise living standard. We reinvested in our people. My family also benefited from it. What did your oligarchs do? They bought yachts, private jets, mansions with golf course driveways. They manipulate the market, dodged tax, and poured billions into endless wars. And you get stagnated wages, crippling healthcare cost, cheap dopamine, debt, and flagged wave poverty made in China while they pick your pocket. For 40 years, both China and the United States benefit from the trade, the manufacturing, but only one of us use that wealth to build. This isn't China's fault. This is yours. You let this happen. You let the oligarchs fit your lies while they made you fat, poor, and addicted. Now they blame China for mess they made. I don't think so. I don't think you need another tariff. You need to wake up. You need to take your country back. I think you need a revolution.
All right, this is new as of this morning. The White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has confirmed to NBC News that the administration has moved to exempt cell phones, computers, semiconductor chips, and a host of other electronics from Donald Trump's tariffs.
This is huge. So just imagine all the big electronics that we get that's manufactured in China, right? Chips, semiconductors, TVs, cell phones, all the big electronics out there are now going to be tariff-free. I mean, Allie, this is extraordinary. It's kind of like saying, we're going to impose 100+% tariffs on everything we buy from China, except for what we actually buy from them. Man, if you are Tim Cook or the other big tech CEOs who gave big and went to Trump's inauguration, you are glad you did that now. The lobbying efforts from the tech industry have certainly paid off. And remember, it was just a few days ago. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said we're going to be screwing in those iPhones in U.S. Factories. Howard Lutnick said, and Caroline Leavitt said, there will not be exemptions. Now, last night, the president, just before he got on the plane headed to Florida, said, well, looking at exemptions now. But this is extraordinary. And without being sassy, sort of the first thing I saw when I went online was Art of the Deal.
Yes.
Sounds more like Art of Capitulation.
Everyone expected China to hit back. But no one thought they'd go straight for America's farms. The U.S. just raised tariffs on Chinese goods. Washington expected retaliation. But instead of targeting tech, manufacturing, or finance, China went after agriculture. Why does that matter? Because agriculture isn't just another industry. It's one of America's biggest economic weapons. The U.S. exports more than $150 billion in agricultural goods every year. China has been one of its biggest customers. And now, that door is closing fast. This isn't just about money. It's about pressure. China isn't just hitting the U.S. economy. It's hitting the heart of rural America. Why? Because that's where Trump's biggest support base is. If farmers feel the pain, the political pressure shifts. And that's exactly what China wants. And here's the real question. Is this just the first move? Or is China setting the stage for an all-out trade war that the U.S. can't afford to win? If there's one thing that makes American agriculture powerful, it's exports. And China just put that entire system at risk. Here's why this is a big deal. The U.S. doesn't just feed its own people, it feeds the world. More than 20% of all American-grown crops and meat are sold internationally. And China? One of the biggest buyers, until now. China knows exactly where to hit. Soybeans? The U.S. sends tens of millions of tons to China every year. Corn? Beef? Pork? All major U.S. exports. Now on the chopping block. If those sales disappear, farmers don't just lose profits, they lose their entire market.
We are diving on the tariff roller coaster ride to see if China is really winning the trade war. Let's break it down together. The trade war between China and the U.S. has been a dominant theme in the global economy, with both countries imposing tariffs on each other's goods. This has significant implications for consumers, businesses, and the overall economic landscape. The U.S. has been trying to reduce its trade deficit with China, while China has been seeking to maintain its position as a major trading nation. Tariffs have increased the cost of goods for consumers, and businesses have had to adapt to a new reality of higher prices and reduced demand. The U.S. has imposed tariffs on a wide range of Chinese goods, from electronics to clothing, in an effort to protect its domestic industries. However, as of recent, Trump caved on the electronic tariff, which most can assume at the behest of his billionaire friends in those industries. Chinese businesses have also felt the pinch, with many struggling to stay afloat due to reduced exports. The impact on consumers has been significant, with many facing higher prices for everyday items. As the trade war drags on, businesses are being forced to rethink their supply chains and sourcing strategies. Many on both sides have been feeling the heat. You're now seeing Trump supports, such as content creators and MAGA, complaining about all the money they have lost recently. The farmers are very worried, and the stock market has also taken a very big hit. Let's hear from some of those affected. Ready for a little FAFO time?
Yeah, I'm voting for Trump. Trump has put his tariffs all over the place. I've been trying to understand them. I don't. And everything's in the because of it. Donald Trump just cost me $20 million or whatever he did. Maybe don't be on the golf course.
Everyone in this room, everyone loves you. And I just want to say you're a true hero for this country. I don't know how many of you guys are invested in crypto or stocks. What the is going on with our country? Guys, why am I poor?
Because Donald Trump is the nominee against Joe Biden. I won't just vote for him. I will walk over broken glass to vote for him. His giant tariff policy that he just dropped on the market unilaterally, probably unconstitutionally.
This is I hate asking for help. I'm not asking for any handouts, but I'm a small business owner that is directly being affected by the 104% tariff that has been put on China. I import alloy wheels for cars, and I do somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 containers a year, which is a small business in regards to this industry. At 104%, I am absolutely going to implode and will not last 6 months. So with that said, I'm asking, is there anybody out there that has connections with manufacturing facilities, specifically alloy wheels, either in the United States or outside in these lesser tariffed countries like Mexico, Indonesia, Thailand, India? I need to find another source. I've emailed a lot of...
We're here at the California warehouse of Amazon seller Dusty Kenny. She's been feeling the impact of tariffs in a big way. She sells some $800,000 of these items, like baby utensils and bento boxes, on Amazon every year. She has them manufactured in China, and they arrive in pallets by the thousands.
I would love to be able to manufacture in the US, but the truth is that the infrastructure is not there. The manufacturing infrastructure doesn't exist, and what few places make this kind of product, they can't compete on price.
Not going to sugarcoat it. These last few days have been really tough for Michigan. 20% of our economy is tied to the auto industry, which depends on a steady flow of goods from our largest and closest trading partners. We're home to the busiest international border crossing in North America. More than 10,000 vehicles carrying parts and materials cross the bridge between Detroit and Windsor every weekday. We're already seeing the impacts of tariffs. So as I've said before, I'm not against tariffs outright, but it is a blunt tool. You can't just...
Friend you having a bad relationship with her boyfriend that gives her more beats per week than DJ Khaled, but still keeps going back to him? That's like a relationship with Trump. A farmer in North Carolina named Jim Hartman has lost $150,000 because of Trump's tariffs. He voted for Trump 3 times, and as the interviewer is talking to him, he's like, I still support him. It sounds like he really does have the American people.
The trade war has seen many twists and turns, with both countries experiencing wins and losses. One significant insight is that China's economy has been more resilient than expected, with the country maintaining its position as a major trading nation. The U.S. has also seen some positive developments, with its economy remaining strong despite the trade tensions. But what caught many Americans' attention was when Trump had his friends in the Oval Office bragging about how much money they made when so many of us have lost so much.
This is Charles Schwab. It's not just a company, it's actually an individual. And he made $2.5 billion today, and he made $900 million. That's not bad, because he's in financial.
Market will find a bottom. It will be soon, and from there we're going to have a bullish boom.
There doesn't have to be a recession. Who knows how the market is going to react in a day, in a week.
You need to reset the power of the United States of America and reset it against all our allies and our enemies alike.
It's a strategy to create a golden age in America for the American worker. That's the strategy.
There doesn't have to be a recession, says the U.S. Treasury Secretary. He's right. There doesn't have to be a recession. The only problem is economic circumstances have now been put in place that most Wall Street economists of senior note say are likely to cause a recession. Howard Lutnick's comments, the economic advisor's comments, Navarro's comments, that's all just hyperbole. That's all just basically, it's going to be great, it's going to be marvelous, it's going to be fantastic, it's going to be wonderful, it's going to boom, But this is the reality. And at some point, ladies and gentlemen, at some point, there is so much disruption that the market simply can't take it. And jobs go, investment stops, the recession happens.
Despite being hit with the toughest of all Trump's tariffs, the message in China seems to be, show no sign of weakness. The Foreign Affairs spokesperson Mao Ning used Elon Musk's X to make the point that the Chinese don't back down, with a video of Chairman Mao vowing to triumph against America in the Korean War. On the socials of this state news channel, a journalist tells viewers not to believe the talk of a tariff apocalypse.
China makes things. It's the only country in the world with industries across all categories in the UN industrial classification. That affords China the ability to produce nearly everything domestically, if necessary, without having to rely on imports.
But in the eastern city of Yiwu, wholesalers who export everything from tights to party poppers are not feeling so relaxed about massive US tariffs.
We are definitely worried that it will be harder and harder to do business. Our clients will have no profit to make, and neither will we.
The problem is, will tariffs work? Can the US produce what China or Yiwu is producing now? Ordinary people are the ones who'll get hurt the most by the tariffs.
Meanwhile, some try to make light of the heavy tariffs. This AI-generated video puts the US President Elon Musk and J.D. Vance in the shoes of Chinese factory workers and asks whether Americans really want to produce goods currently made in China.
Guys, the peasants have responded in kind with an instant tax refund policy for foreign travelers. Is China treating us better than our own country? When you shop in China, you're going to get 13% back instantly at approved stores. So let's say you buy something for $100, you're going to pay $87, which is a 13% savings or $13 savings in this particular example. Now keep in mind, that same $100 shirt is going to be more than $100 in the US because of tariffs. In addition, China is offering 240 hours of free visa entry, which is 10 whole days. And apparently, a phone call request from the US has been rejected. I guess this is what happens when you deal with peasants.
Hello from Shanghai. As an American living in China, I've been getting all sorts of jokes and shade about the new tariffs, even the 125% tariff that came today, and it's been absolutely hilarious. But I learned something today that blew my mind. Okay, so the original tariff that China put on Trump was 34%. Why 34%? Why the number 34 and not 35 or 33? What else has to do with the number 34? How many felony counts does Trump have? I died. That is how savage the Chinese sense of humor is. They put a 34% tariff on him because of his 34 felony counts. So the word on the street in China is that's how the Chinese government wanted to humiliate him.
We just got breaking news. Orange Orangutan administration has cracked. His team literally tried to beg China not to retaliate, and China freaking ghosted him. So here's what happened. CNN dropped a report saying someone from the Orange Orangutan administration reached out hours before China raised tariff on the US goods to 125%. They told China, don't do it, just wait. And they even said President Xi should call the Orange directly. Like, think about that. The Orange Orangutan talks tough in public, but behind the scenes, they were basically trying to de-escalate, to get ahead of it, and China didn't even respond. This is exactly what I've been telling you guys. No calls, no warning, just drop the hammer. And of course, this morning, US officials and all of us woke up to new tariffs. So yeah, Trump flinched and China showed they're not playing his game. This is what happens when you try to act strong, but don't have a real leverage. If you're all bark and no bite, eventually people will stop listening. The shit that he does might work in a business world, but it doesn't work in world politics. I'm gonna be live all day today until 4 p.m. on TikTok and Twitch. I'm gonna be playing Marvel Rivals. If you want to talk about this, come join my stream.
The trade war is far from over, and many challenges remain. The US and China still have significant differences, and it remains to be seen whether they can reach a long-term agreement. The impact of the trade war on the global economy will also be closely watched as businesses and consumers continue to navigate the complex web of tariffs and trade agreements. The implications of the trade war are far-reaching and will be felt for many years to come. We will close out the video with a little gift from China. They're not only serious about business, they have jokes too. If you have any thoughts on the trade war, please share them in the comments below. Don't forget to check out the other videos on the channel. Be sure to like and subscribe, which will help our channel grow. Thank you. We see you.